Hello everyone, Revan619 here. Hope you're all doing absolutely fantastic today, and I'm going to be showing off an Astra Militarum build. This build is going to start off as a soldier that's also going to use the dash feature. We are not using any area attacks, we are going to be mixing las rifles with las pistols, and there is some really good synergy coming in here for Bounty Hunter. But if you really don't want to play dual pistol, you can actually change some of the Imperial World talents I'm going to show off, and you can then turn this into either a shotgun or a flameless secondary. But rifle and Bounty Hunter is going to be the core gameplay loop. One of the really useful things about a soldier bounty hunter, especially with Astra Militarum Commander, is not just the fact that you don't shoot allies, but it means you can also gain immunity from a lot of very negative effects. These can include the health issues that are caused by plasma explosions. It can prevent the knockback effect and the damage effects of negative warp powers like Perils of the Warp, making Idra much more usable. It can also be used with several exploits to gain infinite AP like with Bloody Pact. However, my favourite thing is the fact that Field of Fire just greatly boosts your rate of fire of the whole party, making it very exceptional to pair with Argenta, who compared with her Litany of Hatred, the two buffs of AMC and Litany of Hatred, just makes your party ungodly. If you are using mercenaries, you can also have a mercenary commissar who, when he uses at all costs shoot allies, they won't take damage, so you can get access to the most powerful buff in the game for absolutely free. The main gimmick that we are going to be using here is using cover with Astra Militarum's Commander's ability Trench Strategist. Half cover gives 20% rate of fire to las weapons, full cover gives an extra 100%. This will apply to both rifles and pistols. You could apply it to a sniper rifle if they could take more than one shot. Alas, they cannot. One of my favourite things about this build is it doesn't really take too much away from having Argenta in the party. Whilst they both do want the compensated gloves, you can give one the gloves of rapid desolation whilst the other gets compensating gloves. Argenta will take tactical backpack and you will take the elite carapace backpack. There are lots of las rifles, so you will be constantly progressing items and you'll never feel like that you don't quite have the items or the mobility to use this build. So overall it is one of my favourite builds. Whilst I prefer to play Commissar as an officer master tactician, I think for Astra Militarum Commander my favourite is actually the soldier bounty hunter, though I do have variants for officer, grand strategist, master tactician, as well as soldier, master tactician, soldier, arc militant, and there are ways that you can customize it. All of these will be linked in the below, so if you want to go for any of the builds in the spreadsheet because you can't keep up with my rate of pace of speaking, or you just want to skip to do that, give me a like, pop a subscribe, go into the spreadsheet, get the bits you need. For everyone else, I'm going to show off some Act 2 and Act 3 and some endgame progression, and then talk about why we take our talents. So for this battle, I've started off by giving a bring it down from a Grand Strategist Cassia to my Astra Militarum Commander. I'm going to mark some targets as prey because these are going to be targets that I want to kill or I think will be easy kills to get some AP. The cool little thing I will show off is with Claim the Bounty and the quick firing Laspistol that you can get in Act 2. I've set up these zones and I am using the Hotshot lasgun. At this point, the Assault lasgun has one more rate of fire, but because I know this boss builds up a lot of armor, having that 40% armor pen is the one to go with. When I open up, rapid fire and Cold the Bold with my regimental tactics will be very useful, but be careful about using regimental tactics on an extra turn because your main turn will cancel it seems. So I'm going to save Regimental Tactics for my main turn. But as you can see, the initial burst fire comes off and does some pretty decent damage. As the enemy boss here, every time he gets hit, he gains 10% armor, but I'm also lowering his armor at the same time. I can also use my free grenade with Ionized Grenade to lower it even further to stop him building it up. Run and Gun will give me an access to an extra attack here, which I can use to either take a single shot or I can go for another 1 AP burst fire. Other options I would have is I could use that with the 1 AP quick shot lasgun, which would give me a pair holstered link, which would allow me to fire both pistols. I've intentionally not fired the pistols here just because I wanted to have a little bit of here, but I will show off the pistols. The optimal play there would have been to use the burst fire pistol because it would have been 0 AP, could have got a shot, could have done an offhander shot, and then I could have done another 1 AP shot. There's a lot that we use with this. But if I bring back that claim the bounty, I can quickly show off what I didn't show for what I was just talking about. So this 1 AP burst would be absolutely fine, but as I mentioned many times, if you use claim the bounty with a burst only weapon or an area only weapon, you will take those shots. If you score a crit with the pair holster, that will give you a free offhand shot. So my hotshot Laspistol is in my secondary, and that's going to be another bit of big damage. So I've still got the ability to dash to cover if I needed to, but the boss is really starting to build up some armor now because of how many little gnat shots we've had attacked at him. Now this was just a bring it down turn, that wasn't even the main turn. So if we come back with a main turn here, so I'm going to activate Regimental Tactics, so this will start boosting up the entire party's rate of fire, as well as boosting up myself. I've only got half cover, so I'm not getting the full benefits that I would see from full cover, but it's absolutely fine. So see one of those first burst shots coming in for 104 damage against this boss, which is pretty nice here. He's going to be easily picked off by Argenta after this because she's going to be building up a lot of rate of fire. And I'm going to be using Pascal because when you have 2 bounty hunters, if the other one has Save the Kill, they can set up more prey, which can then loop up some debuffs. If they are an operative, that means you can start moving enemies' armor, you can start doing some recoil issues where you can lower enemies' recoil and up yours. There's a whole bunch of neat little things that we can do as we loop around. As I have Heretic 2, I can get away with using some of the stims and sometimes they refresh. I used it earlier just to show that off. Didn't need to use it now because I still had this follow-up claim the bounty hunt. I was just trying to see if I could get another claim the pistol used for free there. But anyway, the best use of this again is going to be claim the bounty to guarantee the hit, or I could just go for the regular burst. It's up to you. This is just showing off that both ways work, and obviously I will still get the free offhand attack once per turn or bonus turn from the pair holster. This boss's armor is now starting to outpace my damage because I didn't get many crits on the pistol there. Because of that, yeah, that's not good. However, Argenta has now got an exceptional amount of fire rate thanks to my ally coming in buffs. So the base rate of fire on the heavy bolter is currently looking at 9. So if I just quickly move over, we're going to get a 17 round burst here. So yeah, the boss is not going to survive this with all the damage that he's also taken from the bounty hunter. So if we look at what's going on in Acts 3 here, so this is Ymira's. A lot of people often struggle with her. However, you do have access to the Black Signet Ring of the Inquisition, which absolutely trivializes the game. It's always interesting when I'm thinking about making these videos. Do I show off with buffers, without buffers? Because if you don't use buffers, people can sometimes think your build's quite weak. I only use one buffer in my videos, which is normally an officer grand strategist, be it Eogun, Jay, or Cassia. It doesn't really matter which. Cassia, the way I'm using her, she's only really adding plus 20 to stats more than what the other officers would, but the other officers have a lot more that they would offer. Like Jay could obviously benefit by giving a lot of her armor pen if you set that up with weapons, or Eogun's manipulous stuff. Anyway, what I am using for at the moment is I'm going to use Entrench to be able to get 2 extra AP when we run and gun, and we're going to use cover to get the full benefit of our assault lasgun here. So I'm going to activate a Regimental Tactics. We are going to use our Colderbold. I do play Dogmatic 4, I do absolutely love that. I'll talk more about alignments in this video than I usually do, but we're going to use that to set up a Bounty Hunter Burst, and I'd already preloaded a Rapid Fire. I might have already preloaded Coldbolt, but could not remember for the life of me. As we start doing damage, our damage is going to continue to increase, as you might think, but that's also because of the bounty hunt stuff. Criticals will give us extra armor pen, it will give us extra damage, and as we kill some of these enemies, we will start building up all of our other nice little damages here. And you'll notice that with this quick firing Laspistol, we will be able to do a lot with these Colder Bold shots. So we're going to throw out Machine Spirit Communion to lower our recoil. At this point, it must be close to 0. And I'm also going to set up some extra praise from Pascal because the good combo of double bounty hunters. So I do get a free offhand shot because of pair holster, but I'm also going to put on the Crimson Haze. So if you get to Dogmatic 2, you can use that. Sorry, Heretic 2, my bad. I'm also thinking about, is it going to be worthwhile to move to a different position to pick up some of these other enemies? Or just go straight from Ymira's. If we take out her bodyguards, when she gets her extra turn, they won't mess us up as badly. So as you can see, each shot of these bursts are doing quite a bit of damage, and here's where some of these boosters are coming in. I've not been able to work out what causes the share the spoils double bounty hunter bugs. Inconsistent. I was trying to see if I could work out what was the exact cause, but I just really haven't been able to do it. Anyway, one of the good things about Scorcher is we can guarantee another claim the bounty, so if you're shooting a prey there, that's a good way to generate some extra AP. And because we're using the burst only pistol, that's where this whole Gunslinger commander comes into it. Pascal, I just realised I could be using here for his joint analysis. I hadn't actually been setting that up, I don't think. But anyway, part of the gameplay loop coming in here is obviously we want to be able to use stuff like the Beggar's Pistol that comes in to get some big damage in, though apparently I missed every shot at that range. But also again the bounty hunter abilities to go into our burst, so you will strip a lot of enemy stats and you'll be able to set up traps to stop them moving around, and if they try to melee you, you'll obviously dodge the first time. I've got the Hand of the Righteousness on this build because it is a really good weapon, arm for your weapons, and it will just lower enemy stats when you're firing out your burst fires. I was trying to set up Tears of Repentance here because I'd taken off the ionized grenades, so I didn't really need them. But the damage here is very respectable. Act 4 is when you get the rate of fire gear, which is when all soldiers become quite crazy, but nothing can really survive you. And because of how much AP we're generating here, it's going to be very easy to get those to get the Revel and Slaughters up. It's going to be very easy to build up a lot of AP. And then when you have Firearm Mastery, if you're using something like the Focal Emitter MK Soldier, you can follow up with your shots to get some pretty big bursts. I'll try to show that off on your mirrors. I'm also just going to move one square here to set up another Tears of Repentance, so when she moves, she'll have that debuff on her. But we're already up, thanks to our Astra Militarum Commander, up to an 11 rate of fire. And then that went to 12 because of those single shots. So our Firearm Mastery will keep building up our rate of fire as we get to use them. If you use it a little bit later when you've already got a fairly high rate of fire, then yes, you'll get a lot of free attacks. And those free attacks will be giving us more rate of fire. So yeah, Ymira's just was again hit by 12 bursts there, each doing about 200. She will not be able to hit us. Our dodge is going to be way too high because of alacrity. Yeah, our agility is at 198. Yeah, good luck on that one, girly. So I have to get within 3 cells here to take this single shot, so hopefully that'll be about here. Nope, need one more cell over. These burst fire shots will benefit from rate of fire, as well as all of our Astra Militarum and stuff. So very, very dead. You can use stims to get more AP, or as I'm using it here just for MP. Though I still had my running gun. Now that I think about it, I probably should have used that. But as you can see, we've built up so much damage that these burst fires are doing a lot to enemies. Like that first hit of the 13 was 239, and then each one after that was about 150 to 160. I think when Owlcat were first designing some of that, that was what they were intending like Act 4 damage to be. Not what you're just playing around with for the fun. So we've got a lot of these free attacks, and the great defense will, as we shoot, will increase our damage of each of them. So those single shots eventually went up to 200 there. And when we run and gun, Trench seem to have given us a lot of movement. If we move in full cover, the extra 40% rate of fire will probably, get us up to 16. When we rapid fire, we'll get a little bit more than that. We'll get another 5 on that, so about 21. Absolutely unloading the mag of 20 shots on that guy. And we have managed to actually solo clear this with the soldier, and we still got a rate of fire up to 16, which would then benefit Argenta as well. Now, if we really want to be naughty and show off what this build can really do, we're going to use the Hotshot Lasgun and our endgame build here. I've given over a finest hour turn, so I'm going to set up the regimental tactics, and we're going to see if we can just absolutely annihilate this battle. I'm using the Crimson Haze, which again, because of Heretic 2, sometimes we don't consume them. Regimental tactics is going to do a lot for us in this encounter. At some point I'll have to remember to galvanize to get my extra damage. I've also got my ionized grenades if I want to load some damage, but enemy armor, but I'll be able to ignore that because of Dogmatic 4. fantastic, best alignment in the game. But just starting out, I've already got a 30 rate of fire from my compensator gloves and from my elite carapace backpack. I'll go over these items after this encounter, so you don't have to try and guess what they are. But he's still firing. And then Expert Finesse allows him to reload and take a shot afterwards. Expert Finesse is hilarious for saving AP on this build, because if you kill a high tier enemy, you reload and do a single shot. Because of that, yeah, we don't waste AP on reloads. Pascal will also be able to set up exploits, which we can use joint analysis to get some more base damage. Again, you don't really need to go too crazy with the buff stacking. Like, I know you can do a 5-man Doom buff stack, but I really find you don't need to with builds like this. They are just so exceptionally powerful. So we get Revel in Slaughter, which is going to get our agility into our damage. We can do a burst fire, and we can also do a Cold Bolt to really take out some of these enemies here. Remember to galvanize our weapons, because we have some talents that will increase our damage from that. At the moment we've got a 31 rate of fire, so if I use Firearm Mastery now, yes, that's going to be 25 free single shots that we'll be able to save for later. And we're going to take a 34 burst fire here, and yeah, this guy's not going to survive us at all. Each shot doing over 400, and we're still firing. We're just still firing. Yeah, and then the expert for this. I love the reload and the one more shot. Like, just feels really spiteful at the end. Like, brrr, zap. That guy specifically. But yes, as we can see, so I can still move to another point of half cover here. I won't pick up for allies, but yeah, still got 24 free single shots. My rate of fire is up to 26 at the moment. I've still got the MK Soldier if I want to get close and really burst things with some of those single shots. But yeah, almost each bullet here has now gone up to 900 damage on this burst fire. 886 on that one. And because we've killed so many high tier targets, that's why our damage is going to be so high. Even without Dogmatic 4, our armor pen would be absolutely through the roof. And I haven't triggered the Share the Spoils bug here, so you can see just how high like all of these shots are coming in here, and just all these effects in play. Yeah, a lot of these enemies are really going to struggle, and this is just one party member. Obviously, if we had a Rockstar Abelard here, he would be able to do a lot. Argenta Heavy Bolter would be able to do a lot. They'd all be getting that rate of fire increases. Hell, some of these bullets are doing over 1,000 damage. Some people struggle to do that on their Reckless Strike on their single attack on Warriors, and yet here that is just being the first shot in the burst fire. Hell, there's another one right up there at 1695, that initial hit. 34 shots, 20 of them missing because everything in the path was dead. And currently we're up to 27 rate of fire. Yeah, we have a lot of agility as well, 261. If we were to take a main turn, we'd be able to use Revel in Slaughter again, so we'd be able to double stack that agility into our critical damage. Every shot's also building up Firearm Mastery, so our damage is still going up and up and up and up and up and up. So we can move up to see if anything we think can survive a single shot, and then we'd follow it with burst fire. Don't think it's likely. Do not think it's likely. We've also still got our Claim the Bounties, which we can use with our pistol bursts, and our pistol bursts themselves have also built up very nicely. Only one shot clip there that did 1200. So Unpredictable is in use, so we're going to be guaranteed criticals. We're probably seeing a 100% critical rate on this as well. We have taken a lot of time to build that up. So you can see where all these bonuses are coming from as well, rather than leaving it to the mystery of the buffs. But yes, yeah, these enemies not going to survive. Not going to survive at all. And yeah, our rate of fire is now up to 30 and still climbing. Just pure deletion. So let's talk about some of this build. The Astra Militarum Commander builds up a lot of damage as you go through your leveling, especially in the tier 2, as your crits will cause you to do extra damage, you'll get extra armor pen, and you'll also give those bonuses to allies. On this version, I am still playing around with Share the Spoils, trying to work out what exactly triggers the bug to send your damage to the moon, but it does appear to be having two bounty hunters in play. Now, the version that I have gone for in this build is obviously, as per the title, the Gunslinger Commander. So naturally, we do have dual pistols on here, and some of the hotshot Laspistols, as you get into late game, are very powerful and very useful with quick-firing Laspistol. Early on, you will have the hotshot Laspistol in Act 2, as well as the Beggar's Weapon in Act 3, and you'll see those down on the suggestions. One of the reasons why we like it is the pair holster, so whenever we get a critical hit, we get a free attack. So if we start with the 1 AP of the quick-firing Laspistol, we can get a 0 AP attack from the hotshot Laspistol, go back to the quick-firing Laspistol, and then if we had 3 more AP, we could take another burst from the hotshot Laspistol again. So they stack up a lot of attacks. But if we do just stick with, say, the lasguns, which do progress into Act 4 with the Necron-Tech hotshot lasgun, we can build up the rate of fire quite a lot from the compensator gloves, which will scale from your ballistic skill, as will the Temperis Cowpace Elite Pack backpack. As you build up this ballistic skill, you will get a lot more. Now, I haven't built for Masterful Precision, though you easily could with this build, but you don't really need to. At the moment, you can see that I am using Cassia's Gift, but that's not mandatory to the build. It's just what I've got on here. You won't see this in the build suggestions, but it is a nice little stat buff because I'm getting a plus 14 even with Cassia's stats not being buffed, so that's pretty much the same as an early game voice of command. Boots I like to go for is Caligae of St. Keith just to get more AP, but this build will build a lot of AP with Inspiring Trophy. It is an incredibly useful talent, and I've recently re-optimized where I take it. You don't have to worry too much about the Voidsman armor because if you don't side with Vladimir, so therefore you don't kill Chorda, you will have access to other armors. Instantly, if you do kill Chorda, you can get the extra ballistic skill, the Duelist chest piece, or if you recruit Chorda, you can also get that. However, you can just put some other stuff in here, like one of the other options is going to be the Kree cloak. So if you wanted to go for the Kree cosplay, it doesn't really matter losing that perception, you can still do that, and then you could easily either go with the Krieg mask, which is a little bit bugged. If we show on the helmet here, yeah, it doesn't quite fit on the face, but you can use the gas mask for that, though I would highly recommend just using redress as this is the direction you want to be going for. I still prefer what I had on here with the Gunslinger's helm. And obviously going with the Voidsman armor, it is just a great weapon, a great item to boost your weapons and to get the extra dodge reduction. The dodge reduction you'll be seeing on your las weapons is incredibly high. Now on the main build, on the spreadsheet, I have Better to Die for the Emperor, but as you'll see when we look at here, I've taken Las Weapon Expert. You can freely swap around any of the Imperial World talents, though the only ones I'd really recommend sticking to is No Heresy. You'll notice that I've moved away from Fortress World because it's a lot less valuable with the post-nerf. Now that it can't be triggered on extra turns like Bring It Down or Finest Hour, chances are you won't even see it proc. I've not even often been seeing it proc on turn 2, which is the first time it can do on your main turn. A lot of times people have said that they've seen it procking, and then when I've asked more, they've actually just been using pair holster. So yeah, the procs seem very inconsistent to me. I've not seen it proc very much, but that's why I've now gone over to Imperial World, which is very useful because in the early game you start with 50 agility, and with your high perceptions also starting at 40, yeah, you're going to be getting that +7 to initiative, so you should be taking that pretty early on into the early game. If we go over and look at what we have here, I am currently using the Focal Emitter MK Soldier so we can get some extra burst stacks, though you could easily swap this over to the Bounty Hunter one, but that does come a bit late. I like to use the Telemetric Logis Analyzer because, yeah, if they dodge and we get more base damage, that is going to be really powerful, especially as we're building up those muzzle velocities. The one that I have galvanized here is the Weapon Optimizer because, yes, more armor pen, more over penetration chance, more dodge reduction, and more parry reduction. Yeah, this is going to be really powerful, especially now that I use Deadly Accuracy and we take that a little bit earlier. And of course, Hand of the Righteous here is going to be moving down enemy stats. Completely optional, which is why I'm not going to talk about it too much, is the Kinetic Reflector, which is you can sacrifice some dodge to get some counter-attack kicks. As you're building stats through buffs, yeah, that's going to be pretty nice. In terms of alignment, I always go for Dogmatic 4. The reason I go for this is the most OP ability in the game, which is you can ignore enemies' defensive stats. This is how you get the like 200k damage attacks, because enemies, especially bosses that have like 200% armor, it caps at 90%, but chances are you're not going to be able to drag that down enough unless you go something like an Ionite Grenade, and then specifically this build, which will go through enemy armor very quickly. So it's not mandatory. If you wanted to go for the Iconoclast for Fnatic 4 to get those extra heroics, that's perfectly doable. Even if you wanted to go for the weaker option, which is going heretical, you can do that. You can get the stat buff and it's not going to hurt you too much. Just remember, any run that you have executioners in the party, you do want to get at least Dogmac 2. The rest of it is going to be up to you for your roleplay. Now, as shown, this is a soldier bounty hunter. If you want to run Arc Militant, you do not need my permission, my good friends. Just go over to Arc Militant. I have many Arc Militant builds in the spreadsheet below, and that's free for anyone to use. You don't need to watch the videos on it, but I will explain the talent progression rather than the individual talents, because you can obviously check below in the description for the spreadsheet to see the one-for-one progression. But I want to talk more about why I choose to take things rather than telling you this is this, this is that. It just wastes everyone's time. I'd rather explain why we're picking it up and what these milestones are. But like I said, Bounty Hunter is one that I like because whilst your mobility is worse, you do get a lot more damage that you can build up, as well as also getting armor strip and armor pen. Very fun playstyle, and it's definitely one that you can do if you're just bored of an Arc Militant. Bounty Hunters are really powerful, and having multiple in the party just helps each other out. Especially if you're taking turns, you've got Pascal, he's going to be taking Save of the Kill, and he's going to be jumping in, throwing in exploits, throwing in debuffs, and he'll be helping boost your damage with his intelligence. Let's talk about regimental tactics and how this works. What this does is, for one round, the Astra Militarum commander and the allies do not suffer damage from allied attacks, which will include items like Bloody Pact, which will sacrifice HP to gain AP. So you could even use that as a secondary in Act 1, where you just use a single-handed pistol and then have the knife in the other hand. So when regimental tactics is up, you will not consume health. Unfortunately, this doesn't work for Blade Dancer abilities, but it will do for anything else that normally sacrifices HP, and it will just stop you from shooting allies. This will also stop Idara's psychic perils from hurting her, though I haven't been able to fully test if it will stop demonic incursions from killing her, but it does make Idara a lot more usable by having this active in the party, and it will give you a fellowship buff to damage, which isn't the main thing of here, but it is a little extra, and it is something that you will boost your fellowship quite nicely, and whilst you have officer buffs on you, that will go up anyway. So it is something that's fairly freely and easy to use, but the most important talent is going to be Field of Fire. Field of Fire is a talent that allows for some exceptional one-turn potential because it boosts your entire party's rate of fire every time you guys attack. It is so powerful that I struggle to put it into words, but you're going to see some really good damage numbers either before or later in the video, depending on where I put those scenes, of showing just what some of these las rifle builds can do. Let's talk about some key features here. Run and gun is going to be essential to increasing your attack economy, and it's going to be better to use this after you've used your first attack. The reason is this will give us more MP, and it won't all be consumed by that first attack, so you can move, shoot, use run and gun, move and shoot again. The other reason is because we do take a ballistic skills penalty, which will lower our critical hit chance as well as our hit chance, so you're going to want to use this after your first attack. I take Medicaid first. This is so we can use Medicaid kits. If you don't want to use Medicaid kits, you don't need to go in for that. Reverend Slaughter is going to be part of our main gameplay loop because it turns agility into critical hit chance and critical damage. This build does have a lot of that, so once you get 3 kills, you will be able to use this once per turn. Firearm Mastery, you're going to want to have your highest rate of gun out, and if you are in cover, you will get additional boost to this, so you will be able to get more single shots from Firearm Mastery. Muzzle Velocity, because this build is going to have so much rate of fire, is actually going to be really powerful, and especially if you're getting that Litany of Hatred buff from Argenta. Ballistic Skill and Rapid Reload are going to be what we take first. This is because not only does this give us hit chance, but it also increases our crit chance. Rapid Reload is going to be very useful because it lowers the cost of reloading, and the first one does not cost anything. Rapid Fire will be the first talent we take because this will increase our rate of fire, so this will work for both our pistols and our range. More shots, more damage, and it's why Burst is king of damage. We get Trench Warfare early because whilst we're in partial cover, we get a 20% rate of fire increase. Whilst we're in full cover, 40%. This is very powerful, and you don't even need cover from the enemy. Your body just needs to be touching the cover. Unfortunately, this doesn't seem to work with the augments, but at rank 8 we get Unfaltering Fire, so our rate of fire from Rapid Fire is not reducing our damage, which is pretty nice. Because for this build, we're going to have some mobility issues. I take Firearm Mastery 1, which is until the end of the soldier's turn, they gain 4 MP and their attacks do not spend MP. Because Firearm Mastery will give you a lot of free single attacks, this is going to be quite useful for being able to try to keep line of sight when you use them. Fired Up is going to be something that builds up across using our Bounty Hunter and into our Exemplar, which means whenever we deal damage, we get 1% critical damage. This will also apply to every shot in the burst fire. Now, I take dash because we are using burst only. If you want to secondary a shotgun or a flamer instead of using the pistols, then you're going to want to change this to concentrated fire. I just find this useful to get a third movement option. So once you've already done 2 attacks, if you need to move again, this can be very helpful if you're out of MP. Just be careful you don't consume all your MP from firearm mastery by using this early. Awareness is the skill that I focus on along with demolitions. You don't have to, but these are what your talent supports, so it's kind of what I go with that. And as you can see, we can get very high awareness here as well as very high demolition, so we will beat out some other allies. Because I don't start with going for demolitions first, because we don't use shotguns for demolition engineer, it's why I only take 1 point of it in the first level. But like I said before, you do actually outscale other allies. As you can see, Argenta with 165 there, but us with 199, and we've not even got any skill check gear in play. Build of Fire is going to be very important because when the Astra Militarum commander is under Regimental Tactics effect, all their allies gain 5% rate of fire for every attack they have made since the start of this effect, and that's pretty much the whole squad. You want to use your buff Regimental Tactics when you have the opportunity to use Field of Fire, because the more attacks you use, the more you'll get out of that. Lactitude is also going to be very good for building up our agility, which will also scale into our damage, and it also just makes it easier for us to dodge. This is also going to build up very nicely once you get the Focal Emitter MK Soldier. Stronger Together, this is an optional one where you can boost both your the rest of your party by 5 agility. You can choose to take Flame Weapon Expert here instead if you wanted to go for the secondary flamers, or you could even take Las Weapon Expert here. It's up to you if you want to get for that. I do get Grenadier early because this is a very important one. So the first grenade in combat does not spend AP, and it does count as an area attack. So whilst we aren't taking Demolition Engineer, yeah, having the extra grenade is going to be very useful, and later it will become a support option. Finish up with Demolitions and Firearm Mastery 2. The early gameplay is really strong, especially when partnered with Argenta. You will want to take doing my part off of her build, being a soldier as well, but having the two of you just increasing each other's rate of fire and her increasing your damage, you do create a very powerful synergy. This synergy also works very well when you get all fire in Act 3. You could essentially have 3 soldiers running around just annihilating the battlefield. Tier 2 is when you're going to start to diverge from Argenta, and you guys will start going down slightly different play loops, though overall it will be very similar. So the main mechanic that you get from Bounty Hunter is Hunt Down the Prey. What this does is if you mark a tier 1 or 2 enemy, which you can see on their little icon, you'll gain some temporary wounds. However, if you get a tier 3 or a tier 4, you'll get critical damage and critical hit chance until the end of combat based on their prey difficulty. Killing both gets both of those, and you can set 3 charges of this. Now, Claim the Bounty is going to be the way that we increase our attack economy, and this is going to be tied to some of your stats on how much of your percentage damage you can do. Eventually, it will surpass your base damage. But the neat thing about this is, if you use a burst-only weapon or an area-only weapon, that is the attack type you'll make with that, not a single shot. So for a burst-only pistol, yeah, an extra 3 burst, baby. The other important thing is if we kill a prey, we will gain 2 AP. So a lot of the AP generation will stack as we go through it. And if we have a second bounty hunter in the party with, say, further kill, then yeah, they're going to benefit from that as well as share the spoils. So it is good to pair this with Pascal. Hunting Surge is going to be what I take first. Whenever an enemy killed by a critical hit scored by the bounty hunter or their ally, the bounty hunter gains 2 times enemy's difficulty tier damage for 2 rounds. So yep, that's going to be increasing our damage. I take dual weapon combat here. Like I said, you could have taken flame weapon or flame weapon expert by now if you didn't want to go down the pistol route, or if you wanted to go for the shotgun route, you could take something else there. Heightened concentration is going to be a very good one, which is whenever we score critical hits, we get permanent armor penetration until the end of combat, and that stacks. So you can see there's not going to be very much that you need to just completely ignore enemy armor. This is why Bounty Hunter is such a potent pick for a burst fire build. Color Bold will apply to every shot in your burst, so the Bounty Hunter's next attack this turn will have an additional effect, so we can increase our base damage. And sometimes this will apply twice under certain conditions, so what this will do is it will be based on our ballistic skill. So the target's armor will be reduced by 3 times target's difficulty tier against all the Bounty Hunter's attacks until the end of combat. The target's armor against this attack is below 20%, their dodge is also reduced, so this will also come into play. Also, additional damage by the bounty attack is increased by 19 if we could get this again trigger. This second one is going to stack a very huge damage to a really big burst, especially if we're going in with this after getting some buffs. And prey, yeah, if the target of the attacks minus prey, its armor and dodge is also reduced against the attacks of the bounty hunter's allies. So yeah, this is very good for spraying into enemies, and even if only one hit of the burst hits some of them, you will be getting up a lot of these effects. Cut to the chase is going to be another way that we will get some movement. So if we score a critical hit, we can move, and then we could also run a gun, so we could move, and then after that we could dash. So there is going to be some very good movement. You're not going to be limited like Solomon here. I pick up Las Weapon Expert. You could put Bear to die for the Emperor, but the only reason I suggest that is for a new player, Bear to die for the Emperor is going to be getting you more mileage, because chances are you're going to be taking more damage. But if you're one-turn turbo maxing, then Las Weapon Expert getting a 20% dodge reduction penalty is going to do more for you. Share the spoils I take early. This is bugged. I need to test this a little bit more. I might have already talked about this earlier in the video when I've done the combat showcase, but basically, if you have a second bounty hunter, for some reason, if you trigger to the second one and they mark things as prey, you just get really ridiculous bonuses. I think I was having over 2,000% extra damage coming in. There's probably something for Owlcat to look at here. Anyway, I continue increasing agility and demolitions. I get Wild Hunt upgrade at 2, so that means if we do go for this one, though we probably won't ever click it, we'll always click Firearm Mastery, but if you do, you'll get 3 charges of prey as well as some MP. Pierce the Armor is going to be another really good one. Whenever the bounty hunter scores a critical hit, we will reduce the target's difficulty tier armor. So yes, more armor reduction coming in here. Unflinching heroism, every time allies use heroics, we'll get some stats, so that is pretty nice. Snare the Prey, I take this for Act 3 in mind. This will stop enemies from rushing you, so you can just outrun them until you get your gear back. Sparring Trophy is going to be a really good one for just getting AP up. I do put the others first. I think in the armor penetration and the movement and the extra damage is more important. Some people might want to bring this one up. The thing is, the limitation of Inspiring Trophy is it needs to be a target 4 or higher. Combats don't have that many of them in the early game, so it's why I don't take that so early. But I've been increasing my agility first. Agility I always increase first because I don't want to get hit and I want to have better initiative. Perception is mostly going to be something you need to prepare for Act 3, so you don't need to rush it early. Critical Chain, another useful one. Get some extra critical damage to allies, but eventually this one will die out because allies won't get a turn. Suppression Fire is also the one I take last here because, yeah, we want that dodge reduction for Act 3. Those pesky elves, so this will stop the Drukhari from dodging us so much. We'll also take Wild Hunt Upgrade 1, so prior to the attack, all prey suffer 3 times perception bonus penalty to armor until the end of combat. So yeah, if we do go for prey, those single shots we do, yeah, we will be ignoring their armor. But like I said, it's going to be better to always click Firearm Mastery when you're going through this loop. Tier 3 for this build is mostly just you flexing on the game because it can't keep up with you even if you weren't using exceptional amounts of buffers. The first exemplar one I go in for Deadly Aim is it turns our dodge reduction into extra damage. Because most things die so quickly, you don't really see degraded defense coming in as much. So I like to get Deadly Aim first. Picking up Rack and Ruin, so that means follow-up attacks will be getting more damage, and this will actually scale with our ballistic skill. So as we're buffing up ballistic skill, we will see some nice things. Now I get in Withdraw, so it allows us to dodge something in melee. Very useful for Act 3. You'll be very happy that you have this. If you don't want it, you can trade this one out, but like I said, it is aimed for Act 3. Ballistic skill is obviously going to be what we need for that hit chance and crit chance as with before, but I like to get No Heresy to get more critical hit chance, more armor against the Act 3 to 5 enemies, which would be very commonly Xenos for that part of the game. I pick up Entrench because chances are you will run out of attacks before you run out of MP and AP. Sometimes you'll run out of MP before you run out of AP, but Entrench is going to be very useful to bank that and then to use it again later. If you have a Psycho using Metabolic Overcharge, what you can do is pass one of those high AP turns, click Entrench, and then when you come back later to run and gun, you'll get all that AP back, especially if you use it during Finest Hour. It is an exceptionally potent combo, and it's a way that you can get lots of AP without damaging yourself. Do take Degrade Defense because you can get like an extra 100% to damage here, and it will stack with Vital Points, so it is useful to have, though you could take Extermination at first, then Degrade Defense. Flay the Bold is going to be another good one. It drops enemies' willpower and toughness. Dropping their toughness drops their health, making them quicker to die. Enough bullets for everyone will be a good boost just to your second attack in your loop. Piercing Shot, really funny. The bounty hunter's next attack performed will have 100% over penetration and 20% arm penetration. It will crit on prey, and we can take pierce and ruin, so enemies affected by piercing shot also have their armor reduced, so these two combined will actually get enemy armor down much quicker. You'll find that this bounty hunter build will do a lot more damage. If you didn't know how to manage armor reduction in previous runs, this guy will do it for you. You won't even really need to use those iron grenades. Calculated resolve, because we are using those head implants, we will be able to get +2 resolve for each critical hit, and because we're critting so much and we're getting in so much, we'll see those heroic actions very quickly. I get demolitions, extermination, yep, so as we do every attack we make increases our attack, and because we'll have good access to Finest Tower at this point, that's going to be really powerful. Fortress, yep, if we've got cover, it's just 10% extra damage, and we take less damage when we're in cover. Don't need this one, you could swap it out, but it's just free damage is free damage. Same with integrity, when we get full wounds we get more ballistical and MP, both of which are helpful, and there are very few talents we really want. The Act 3 is, well, and Exemplar, is mostly just taking an extra win. Your build should be done in Act 2 during Tier 2, really. I take Expert Finesse, so we can just get an extra attack here. The reason I like the extra attack is it will build up with our Extermination, but you could take another talent here instead. Hunted Surge is another one you can use to actually generate some AP if you're shooting enemies that have been stunned by allies, or if you've used like a stun grenade as part of your Grenadier. More agility, more perception, more Medicae. The reason I take Medicae at the end is there's nothing else to take, so you might as well take Medicae just for healing. Vital Points is going to be very useful in this one, because all of our crit stuff can be doubled. You will see 2 instances of it, and this will even apply to stuff like the Great Defense. Vital Points is quite useful, especially with Firearm Mastery building up so much. Unpredictable, we take just to get some extra crit chance. We should be well over 100 by now, but it can be swapped out if you really want to. Guidance is another one, so when we get a critical hit in the round, our allies get a stacking bonus to arm penetration. Just remember not to reload. Chances are your allies won't make an attack, but if you're not using some crazy buff stacking turboing, you will see a lot of benefit from this. Camaraderie is useful if you're just near allies. We're not using the pet build, so you could drop this one as well, especially if you're trying to build up some of the area talents, if you're going shotgun or flamers. Residual power is going to be very useful because we're going to be overcharging, so this is just going to be free damage. Last one, I take Raid. Raid, again, you don't really need to, because if your allies aren't going, they're not really going to get access to Raid and Kill Squad, but it is one I do like. Critical Velocity is also going to be one that's very useful, because we're going to have really high critical hit chance, and we're also going to build a crap ton of dodge because of Alacrity. Yeah, this one is actually super MVP, and you will see a lot of mixture with all the others. You'll be surprised how high the damage does go for this build. But that will sort of wrap up what we're taking in the talents. I hope you've all found this useful. As always, in the description will be the spreadsheet with all this access to. Members do have access to build code, so if you do join membership, do join the Discord, which is also linked in the description, and you will get access to the auto level mod that will just follow this for you. So yeah, easy peasy. I hope to see you all in the next video. I've been Rem619. Thank you for stopping by.